Hello, and thank you for listening to the Welcome Matt podcast. I am your host, Matt Caldwell. If you've never listened to the Welcome Matt before, what it is, I invite artists, stand-ups, comics, any creative type to come by the recording and to play some games. And I'm pleased to welcome Darren Springer today.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You actually have your own podcast. Tell me about that.
It's called Nick and Darren in Conversation. I do it with Nick Nemiroff, a very funny local stand-up. And basically, every week, I talk to him, and he is usually in character. By usually, I mean always. He's always in character. I don't know why I qualified it with usually, but... And so we just have a chat. Me is me, him in character. Sometimes we'll switch it up, but that is the basic framework.
Nice. And what are some of the characters that he's played before?
Most recently, he played the owner of the first stand-up club, the first comedy club in space. He has played several members of his family, actually. His own mother, his own twin brother. Usually his characters are arrogant and have a very tenuous connection to reality.
Nice.
So yeah, that's
Nick and Darren in Conversation.
That's right, and that is on the Talkhole Studio Network. And get it on iTunes or Stitcher, baby.
So you do podcast, you do stand-up, you do sketch.
Right.
And you have a show on Monday nights too, right?
Monday nights, I'm part of a collective that puts on a show at the Ossington, which is on Ossington, as you might imagine, near Queen. And it's called Ossington Comedy, because why try to come up with a clever name that no one's going to remember?
Enough.
Yeah, look, it's comedy. It's named after where it happens. I think all comedy should be like that.
Yeah, all comedy should be geography-based.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Comedy Bar would be better if it was just called Blur Comedy.
Comedy.
Hey, it's their money to lose,
Yeah, you got to market what you're selling.
Right, that's very true, yeah.
Well, I want to say thanks for stopping by the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Excellent. Are you ready to play some games?
I am.
All right, the first game we're going to play today is called Spoiled Movies. Now, I love movies, but I kind of hate being surprised by any of the plot points in them.
Ugh, who doesn't?
I like to know what I'm getting myself into, what I'm spending my $7.50, my $22.50, whatever the price of a movie. So you just saw Rogue One.
Oh, I did, and what a glorious cinematic endeavor.
Nice. Now, what is the general feeling of this movie? Is it a happy movie? Is it a sad movie?
It is a relentlessly bleak and depressing movie. I would say the main message behind Star Wars Rogue One is that life is meaningless. It is a never-ending ballet of despair and ennui, and ultimately, there is no true purpose to our existence. We are mere specks of dirt on the rug of life, waiting to be sucked up into the vacuum of eternity.
Now, is that what it says before the movie, where they have the scrawl that rolls up?
It does say that on the opening scroll. That is actually the tagline for the movie. If you look at the poster outside the theater, that is written in its entirety. So they're taking a really interesting marketing tactic here. A lot of the time, you'll see studios trying to make movies seem fun, but not this time around. They're not sugarcoating anything, and I appreciate that. It makes me feel like a respected adult, although I suppose not everyone would feel the same way.
And who would this be marketed towards? Who's the intended audience of this movie?
I would say it seems to be marketed mainly towards 82-year-old single Scandinavian men who wear hazmat suits to bed. I mean, that's just me. Look, I'm no marketing expert. I could be wrong. I'm sure some might quibble with my, with my interpretation, but that seems to be who they're really shooting for.
Well, I hope they get the Scandinavian market in check, really. So tell me a little bit about the story. How does this movie open up?
Well, it opens on a shot of a planet. Now, this planet is large, it is purple, and it is not taking no for an answer.
Oh, very forceful planet.
Yeah, it is a very sassy planet. So you see the desert terrain of this planet, the purple sky, and it opens with a young child of 6 years old, crawling across the desert, being trailed by a serpent, a large serpent.
Oh. CGI or an actual handmade costume?
It is a handmade costume. They really make no effort really to disguise the fact that it is a costume.
Oh, okay.
Wherever the money and the budget went into, it certainly wasn't into costuming or effects. No.
So they spent it on the actors.
I assume so, although none of the actors were familiar to me. So I'm surprised that the actors in this film got paid as much as they did, given that they're all relative unknowns.
Tell me about the main character.
The main character is, of course, Darth Campbell. Darth Campbell is a sort of offshoot of, I'm sure you are all familiar with the famous Star Wars character, Darth Man.
Oh, yes.
Darth Man, I tell you, so many childhood nightmares inspired by Darth Man.
Mm-hmm.
His dark helmet, his sunglasses, his Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
His T-shirt that he wears underneath it that you see sometimes when he unbuttons his Hawaiian shirt and it says, "Time to go nuts."
He really brought the cool.
He really brought the cool in a way that it was also terrifying. It was a sort of terrifying cool, like Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, very Samuel L. So it begins in this desert planet. What really drives the story from there?
Well, it begins on the desert planet, and then, of course, I'm sure we all know this from all the previews that have run. Of course, what happens is that the water on this desert planet dries up, and so they need an alternate source of fuel. So here arrives Mad Max. Mad Max shows up. He says, "Look, we got to get water. The only way we can do that is if we get out of here." And so they all get into Mad Max's semi-wide trailer. It's more of a Winnebago. They get into Mad Max's Winnebago, and they take off. They take off for the hills, where there is water.
Water in the hills.
There's water in the hills, and so they take off for the hills to get that water. What do they encounter there? Darth Man.
Oh,
yeah.
So he saw ahead and foresaw using the Force, I believe.
He did, yeah. He used the Force. He used the Force, and he used the force of his charming personality.
He is a wordsmith.
He is a wordsmith and a bit of a Lothario.
Oh.
So they get to the hills. They got to get that water. But what do they encounter? Well, the road is blocked off by who? Darth Man and his henchmen. Darth Man comes out, and this is thrilling. He comes out wearing the classic Darth Man outfit that we've all worn on Halloween. Again, the dark helmet, the sunglasses, Hawaiian shirt, unbuttoned a little bit so you can see his t-shirt, which reads, "Man, we have got a party."
We have got to.
He's got a few different t-shirts.
Yeah. What would he wear on laundry day? What is his last t-shirt in the closet?
His last t-shirt in the closet would obviously be the world's greatest source of natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he loves the shirt, but he knows that you can't just wear that in public. It's not dignified.
No, it's a bit faded.
It is faded, but I mean, it's just a low-rent shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to inspire much fear, but he thinks it's really funny, and I would agree.
Nice. How does this story wrap up?
Well, okay, so you've got Darth Man fighting them for the water. There is a long battle for the water. It lasts a good 102 minutes. There's a lot of just animals being thrown around. Cats, coyotes, goats, end of list. Just the three.
Just those three? Those are the only three animals on this planet?
The only three animals on the planet. There are no weapons, but there are plenty of cats, goats, and the other thing I said.
Yeah.
Which I, of course, remember. And so, it's 102 minutes of those animals being thrown willy-nilly through the air. It gets a little old after 84 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, director Luke Perry is a wizard when it comes to staging action sequences. But even he can't really cover up Like he can't sustain that energy for that long.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I do have a criticism of the movie, and I otherwise loved it, I would say that the endless animal tossing, could have been cut.
Yeah, at least trimmed down a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. Save some of that for the commentary. Save some of it for some extended version they're gonna put out in 10 years, right?
Yeah, run it through again. It's all reboots, retools, reuse, recycle.
Right.
Now, do you see any awards from this? Are there going to be any Oscars?
I just realized I didn't tell you how the movie ends. Did you want to know how it ends?
Yeah.
Well, it does end finally with Darth Madness being like, "Everyone, what the fuck are we doing? There's plenty of water. You could just have some of it. Man, I gotta have a long talk with the man in the mirror." And then he turns and there's a mirror there. It's not explained why.
Mm-hmm.
No one's holding it. It just seems to be suspended in the air. He's like, "Buddy, I love you." He's talking to himself. "But you have really been losing it lately. You play video games all the time. Like this Simpsons game, you're going to spend so much money on it. You're going to end up in the dang poorhouse. You got to get outside once in a while and just have some fun."
Yeah, get some sun.
Yeah.
It is a desert planet.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
How many suns on this planet?
12. There are 12 suns. Yeah, so vitamin D not in short supply.
No.
And then finally he's like, "Let's just get my friend Sugar Ray out here and let's have a jam." And so the members of Sugar Ray come out. They play all the Sugar Ray hits you'd want. Every morning, Fly, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Now, do they run the soundtrack? Are they in charge of that?
Who,
is it all Sugar Ray?
Oh, it's 100% Sugar Ray. And there are no original songs, and there aren't any songs that weren't hits, but they didn't have that many hits, like not enough to sustain a whole soundtrack, so there are 3 remixes of Fly, 4 remixes of Every Morning. Yeah, that's another criticism I might have, is just a little more variety, not in the sense that they should have other bands than Sugar Ray. That is fine with me.
Yeah.
I just would have liked more Sugar Ray songs. Not new ones, but more old ones.
More variety.
More variety among the old Sugar Ray songs.
Yeah. Better than John Williams, though, right?
Oh, far superior to John Williams. John Williams I find to be a bit of a hack. I find that his scores tend to be sort of soppy and melodramatic and just sort of too emotional.
Yeah. Now, there is one rogue in this movie. Who would that character be?
Well, the rogue, of course, is none other than Mr. Zim.
Mr. Zim.
Mr. Zim. Mr. Zim is the guy who's like, "Wait a minute. Maybe we should go somewhere else for water."
Mm-hmm.
He does that about halfway through the cats and stuff being thrown around. And as soon as he does it, a sword comes out. Someone cuts his head off.
A sword, like being a lightsaber or an actual sword?
Just a regular sword, not a lightsaber.
So there are no lightsabers in this movie?
No lightsabers.
Well, that was a smart decision.
It was smart. You really want to distinguish yourself from the other movies, which I understand had lightsabers.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, just swords. You'll see the odd machete. But, and someone uses an axe to cut their foot off at one point.
Okay.
Because you're not going to use a sword for that.
No, you'd have to bend too far.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You've done your research.
Yes, thank you.
You've I can see that you've given this a lot of thought, and you've really thought a lot about what it would take to cut your foot off.
Yeah, I love cutting my feet off.
Who doesn't? Yeah. And you're actually missing both of them, which is I hadn't noticed.
2 for 2.
You are, or depending on how you look at it, 0 for 2?
So I asked you earlier, do you think there are going to be any awards passed out for this?
Oh, God. Well, I think it's going to break the record for the most Oscars won. I think it's going to leave Titanic and Return of the King, which share the record for most Oscars.
Is that true?
That is very true. It's a little sad that I know that, but I do. It's going to leave in the dust. It's going to win 14 Oscars. Best actor is obviously going to go to Christopher Plummer as Mr. Jim.
Oh.
Not to be confused with Mr. Zim.
No. Were they related?
No, and it's never brought up that they have similar names. Okay. It's also never explained who Mr. Jim is. He just kind of walks into the frame at one point and someone says, "Mr. Jim." And Christopher Plummer says, "That's me, baby." And that's it.
Clever writing.
It is clever writing, yeah. And he's never on screen again. I don't know why he'd be pushed for Best Actor since he's really not a lead. He's not being a supporting role, really. It's more of a walk-on cameo. But Such is the the status of a Christopher Plummer that he can wring a Best Actor nomination out of that.
Well, Star Wars is about the cameos. I believe James Bond was in the last one.
He was, yeah. James Bond was in the last one. Not the actor who plays James Bond, Daniel Craig, but the actual James Bond, played by Daniel Craig.
Yeah. Because nobody else can play him at this point.
No, I don't think anyone will ever play him again. I've heard that once Daniel Craig dies next week, no more James Bond.
That's good.
Well, yeah, thank God.
Well, I pay attention to the scores that movies get before I go see them. I like to be spoiled. Tell me all about it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give this a score on the Moldy Pumpkin meter, what percentage would it get?
Oh, God. Well, on the old Moldy Pumpkin meter, I would give it 3.5 sticky orange stuff things.
Nice.
Out of a possible 7.
3.5 out of 7?
Yeah. It's not great. Although I think I said it was great earlier. But look, I'm not going to lie. As we've talked about it, decided it's not a great movie. It's not as good as it could have been.
More of a cult classic.
In the sense that, it was... no, I wouldn't say that. I would say that it is an okay movie that will be a huge hit and will win a lot of Oscars. And I don't hold the Oscars in high esteem, so I would say an okay movie would win several Oscars. Because, look, it's all politics, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, I want to say thank you for stopping by the Welcome Mat and playing a little Spoiled Movies.
Hey, not at all. It was fun, and boy, I tell you, this movie, go see it if you don't have anything else to do, and I know I don't.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Welcome Mat podcast. I'm your host, Matt Caldwell. I am here with Darren Springer.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful.
Nice. Now, we're going to play a little game called a novelty.
Okay.
And that's where you give a book review for a book that you've read recently. I understand you are a reader.
I am a voracious reader, I would say. I read a book a week, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. But I'd say on average a book a week.
Nice. And what is your favorite genre?
Favorite genre is probably spy thrillers.
Spy thrillers.
Yep.
What is your favorite book that you've ever read?
Favorite book I've ever read, probably The Spy Who Gave It a Go by John Prius.
John Prius.
Yep.
Well, we're going to do a little spoiler review for another John movie. Another John book, sorry. This is John Grisham.
Okay.
And he just released a book. It's been 7 weeks, even longer, possibly, on the best-selling novel list.
It's about average for him.
Yeah.
He's a very, very popular, successful author.
Have you read this book?
I actually have. It is a great book.
Nice.
It is one of his best.
It is called The Whistler.
Very aptly titled.
Nice. And who would be the main character of this?
The main character is Tim Whistler. He is a man who loves whistling. He is a resident of Whistler, BC. He's a ski instructor, and he is known for whistling while he skis. People often remark on the fact that they know he's skiing because they can hear his whistling off in the distance.
Wow. Has he caused any avalanches?
He's caused 28 avalanches.
Yes.
Some of them, most of them obviously accidental, some of them on purpose. He does that to, I guess, catch criminals in the act. So a lot of the times he'll know there's a murder going on. He'll hear it on the CB radio. Hey, there's a murder in progress.
Wow.
Which is odd. It is odd that you would hear news of a murder in progress, not a murder that's been committed.
Yeah.
But
somebody's really up to date on the murders.
Yeah, someone apparently. Well, there is a character named Sneaky Pete who is known for observing murders as they happen and getting on the CB radio and saying, "Hey guys, we got a murder in progress here." So that's how one of the ways that the Whistler finds out about these murders in progress. And he'll say, "Oh, what do I do? The police are the police are too far away. I gotta step in and do something here." So he'll start whistling really loud, like. And then that'll cause an avalanche.
Yeah.
And he'll strategically place his whistle so that the avalanche falls directly on top of whoever is committing the murder.
That is so smart.
It is so smart and so inventive, and It really, you can see it happening very easily in real life. It's very grounded.
Now, how does this compare to the other John Grisham books?
Well, the other John Grisham books are often about the law. They're often about legal procedures. They're often about lawyers. I guess I just said the same thing 3 times there, basically. But whereas there are no lawyers in this book. It is a real departure for him. At one point, the main character, Whistler, makes a point of saying, if I see any lawyers come onto this mountain, I'm going to take this ski pole of mine and I'm going to shove it down their goddamn throats. And then he goes on for a good 28 pages about how much he hates lawyers. Like, oh, lawyers are the worst thing in the world. Lawyers, they take advantage of people. They're vultures. And let me tell you, if I had the chance, I'd murder a lawyer and cook him in a stew. Now, I think the fact that he uses the pronoun him should tell you that the character is a bit of a sexist.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's a flawed hero, and that's why I like him. He's not perfect. You don't agree with everything he says or does, but he is very human, and he's very compelling.
So all of him is human?
Ooh, that is a great question, actually. He is human, however, not all of him is human. He does have one bionic arm and one bionic nose.
Oh, wow.
He does have 2 noses. One of them is his real human nose. The other is the bionic nose.
Are they both on his face?
No, actually. The bionic nose is actually on the back of his head. The thing is, he had gotten in an accident where one of the avalanches he'd caused, he accidentally hurt himself while he was stopping this murderer.
It's heartbreaking.
It is, yeah. It really gives him some added depth, some vulnerability. And so he was hurt pretty badly in that avalanche, so scientists took him and just gave him an extra bionic nose and bionic arm. It's never explained why. I think they just wanted to have fun.
Yeah. Scientists have got to create.
That is so true. Scientists, they have to create. It's like a muscle. Like you've got to, like if you're a writer, you got to write.
Yeah.
You
got to ask, like, why don't we?
Right. And if you're a scientist, you have to just take random people who are in the hospital and be like, let's give them some fucked up arm.
Yeah. It only benefits them.
It only benefits them. It can't hurt them unless, of course, it kills them. But as you got to take risks as a scientist.
Yeah. You got to step out there.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to be the same. You're not going to progress as a scientist. You're just going to get sloppy and you're going to get complacent.
Stagnant.
The worst.
So what is the real driving factor of this book? What does the Whistler want to achieve?
The Whistler ultimately wants to... Well, there is a serial killer who is sort of haunting Whistler, the character and the town of Whistler, the city. And so his ultimate aim is to stop this serial killer from killing. And so he creates several avalanches, but throughout, most of the novel, obviously, he just keeps missing him just by inches. Like the killer just manages to escape the avalanche, and dozens of innocent people die, which is too bad. But the Whistler does seem... Well, actually, the Whistler does say it's not a big deal, and I don't really care. Which, again, is part of the whole flawed anti-hero thing.
Yeah, he's so rugged.
Rugged, and so just sort of take no prisoners. I swooned. I swooned it several times, and one time I fainted.
Wow.
It's just not often I faint while reading a novel, but he is so virile that he caused me to become afflicted with the vapors.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, if this was going to be turned into a film...
And it will. It's coming in 2018, apparently. Yeah.
2018. Yeah. Nice. And who will be playing the Whistler?
Well, apparently the Whistler is going to be played by none other than Mr. Matthew Perry. You might know him from Friends.
Yes.
Of course, you know him from the smash hit Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Yes.
Which, of course, is still running after 10 seasons. And so he will be playing the Whistler. The serial killer apparently is going to be none other than Mr. Matt LeBlanc. Yeah, it's a Friends reunion.
Whoa, reunion. No David Schwimmer.
Schwimmer, no. They couldn't get Schwimmer, but Courtney Cox is playing a park ranger who says things like, Whistler, look out!
And does he look out?
He doesn't, actually. He has a condition where whenever someone tells him to look out, he almost perversely decides not to. Again, anti-hero, right?
Yeah,
it's just, he really plays by his own rules.
Now, I like to be spoiled by books. I want the Cole's notes, but just in audio form.
Sure.
So you can just tell me what happens in the end of this movie. Or book, sorry. It's a book.
Well, it's going to be a movie.
It's going to be a movie.
So you'll see it in that movie. Well, at the end of this book, what happens is that Whistler tracks down the serial killer. He says, "Stop fucking killing everyone, man!" And the serial killer looks at him and says, "I'm your brother, you know." Oh, yeah, it's crazy because throughout the entire movie, the Whistler keeps making references to the fact that he has a brother he's never met who is a serial killer.
Uh-huh.
So it's a real twist, and it turns out that this serial killer is his brother. And Whistler says, "No! No, you gotta be kidding me." And the serial killer says, "No, I'm not. I'm your goddamn brother. Come here, you give me a brother's kiss."
Ooh, I assume on the mouth.
Oh, of course, yeah. He makes several smoochy faces at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so Whistler sees his opportunity. He's like, "Oh, sure. I'll go kiss you on the lips, brother." So he gets really close. He's whistling the whole time. And then when he gets up to the serial killer, he says, "Oh, by the way, fuck you." And then he kills him with his ski pole.
Wow.
Right in the stomach, yeah. And Whistler, and as the serial killer falls to his knees onto the ground and dies, Whistler looks out across the snowy terrain of Whistler, BC, the town.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'm gonna get fucked tonight."
And does he?
Yeah, he immediately smash cuts to a scene of him having sex with some woman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's never explained who. There is no dialogue, and then the scene immediately fades to black. It is an odd yet inspired choice by director David Lynch.
David Lynch, wow.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I just was talking about it as if it was a movie.
Well, it can be both.
Well, it's going to be a David Lynch movie. I'm sorry. I was picturing it in my head as the David Lynch movie. It's going to be in 2018.
Books are just pictures in your head.
Exactly. But yeah, the novel does smash cut to that.
Yeah. And what life lesson would you take away from this novel?
The life lesson I would take away is that don't whistle. There's no need.
Mm-hmm. Especially at high altitudes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for stopping by the Welcome Mat podcast.
Thanks for having me. Couldn't recommend this book enough. And go check out the movie when it comes out in 2018, directed by David Lynch, starring Matthew Perry and Matt LeBlanc and Courtney Cox.